Hello again. Do without wilt shall be the whole of the law. I'm Lexi Eve, and welcome to another installment of Grade Signs and Magical Gestures. Today I want to go over with you the grade sign of the Neophyte of AA, which is called Set Fighting. Before we begin, we are drawing close to the equinox, and I'm going to be giving away a free 2/5 scale stele revealing. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more details. With that out of the way, let's begin. The sign of set fighting is that of the Neophyte of AA, corresponding with Maluth, the first Sephiroth. Online and in various books, you'll find several descriptions which are very similar, but I'll give you basically what I see in the image. I'll give you my description of the image that you see on your screen. So the common title is either Earth or the God Set Fighting, and again it's AA, grade first degree equals 10 square, that of the Neophyte. Standing upright, your right foot is advanced, pointed to the fore and angled slightly outward with the weight on ball of foot. Arms are swung out to make a diagonal line right above the head and in line with the left at waist level. Hands open, palm outward, with fingers together. Now, keep in mind, I'm not in AA, and this is going to be a description and analysis of the grade sign, mostly on speculation, based on my experience and personal contemplation of the grade sign. Whatever instructions AA gives or does not give about this grade sign, I do not possess, I don't want to possess, so don't take this as if I'm speaking from the point of view of a neophyte. I'm speaking as a magician who's used this sign many times in some rituals when it was necessary. Note also some descriptions that you'll find either online or in books. Some descriptions call for 45-degree angles of both arms, but I'd like to avoid that, as it then becomes a question of, well, why 45 degrees, rather than saying up and down slightly to the side. I thought about it, and I do suppose adding 45 and 45 gives a total of 90 degrees, which would be that of a square angle, and a square is symbolic of Earth. But I don't think that really had anything to do with the intention of this grade sign. If you look on your screen now, you'll see an image from the Golden Dawn book by Rigardi. I believe this is from the 7th edition. So, set fighting comes from the Golden Dawn, originally just called the Zealot's sign, though in that order, it appears that the initiate only moves the right arm up. Rather than the symbolism of the AA grade sign, it looks more like a salute to one's superiors than what Crowley made of it. Zealot back then was the grade of Maluth. Neophyte, like Neophyte was like AA's probation grade. Crowley, of course, added probation and shifted the grade titles one sphere, so that Neophyte is Maluth and Zealotor is now Yesod. So, with that out of the way, we're looking at Crowley's set fighting from AA, not the initial Golden Dawn sign. We do know that even in the Golden Dawn, this was a sign for the grade of Maluth, so that stayed the same. And aside from being used by neophytes of AA, or zealoters of Golden Dawn, this grade sign is also employed in the supreme ritual of the pentagram. You use it in the north after you draw an earth pentagram. When I give this sign, I begin by interlocking my thumbs at my waist with my right hand over the left. I step forward with the right foot, and I swing my arms right up, left down at those angles. I hold this posture for a moment, soak in its energy, and then step back to equal footing and bring my hands back to my waist where I interlock my thumbs again. To me, it just feels like a more clean way of performing this grade sign, rather than just starting it with my hands on my hips or on my thighs. Now let's look into the symbolism of it. Firstly, the right foot stepped forward. So if you know anything about Egyptian hieroglyphics or statues from museums, you may have noticed that a lot of these statues and hieroglyphs depict a person or deity with their left foot advanced forward one step. According to the Brooklyn Museum, quote, "The left foot forward is used to imply movement, power, and stepping into the future. It directly relates to Egyptian hieroglyphs. The reasoning for the left foot specifically relates to the way hieroglyphs were most commonly read, from right to left, end quote. Though less common, hieroglyphics are sometimes written from left to right or from top to bottom, so just keep that in mind. Why then, in this grade sign, is the right foot advanced forward? Well, for one thing, the right side of the body corresponds with the pillar of severity, the feminine pillar. Earth, Maluth, is a feminine sphere. Further, the right side of the body functions through the left hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere works mostly on intellectual matters and things that can be reasoned out, while the right brain is more creative and emotional. So, by advancing the right foot, we are working with the reasoning faculties. I think it's a way of reinforcing the earthly nature of Maluth, and this thus definitely below the abyss, and this is in no way spiritual, so to speak. It's more focused on the earthy aspect of the body. Also, if it is the norm to advance the left foot, I think advancing the right foot goes against the societal norm. So I just think that that's interesting, and being that Set was a god of chaos among storms and other things, I think it's interesting that this goes against the way that you're supposed to do it in Egypt. I could see Set as a very countercultural figure. Next, on bodily posture, the arms are swung, the right up to the side and left down to the side. This to me is a feel of Baphomet, signifying above and below. On the Tree of Life, your hands end up in proximity to Bina on the right and Netzach on the left. These are Saturn and Venus, respectively. Both apt symbols of New Eden Babylon. You're also creating triangular shapes with your arms. I mentioned New Eden Babylon just because there's another feminine aspect there that corresponds with Earth, which is a feminine element, and Maluth, a feminine sphere. So, with your arms at these angles, you're making a triangle, and it reminds me of the spear and cup of the elemental symbols. This cup and spear become vessels of the energy of the feminine and masculine. By the shape of your arms and the sign of Set fighting, you bring down light from the supernals with your right arm, and raise up Kundalini from Maluth with the left. These two forces then coalesce in the center of your being at the heart area. Think of the star sapphire ritual. The holy hexagram depicts a blue upward triangle and an inverse red triangle, the adept passively aspiring upwards and the tongue of Horus descending upon them. These two forces meet in the center and merge, just like the hexagram is the union of two polarities. This idea gives a new spin as to why, quote, Set shall appear in the circle, end quote, of the star sapphire ritual. Also, in having your arms in this way, it sort of is like you are opening up your being to the light. Your arms are open. It's as if you're ready to hug and embrace the divine, to embrace nature, to receive it. It was a very receptive gesture. Next about this great sign, then why is it called Set fighting? And I think this is rather simple. The sign is of Maluth, almost synonymous with Earth, or life, and this is meant to convey the idea that in order to survive, one must fight for life. Survival is a struggle. The tallest tree gets the most light. Animals eat other animals in the food chain. Death is inevitable, but survival sometimes must be fought for. But why Set? I think this is because of the myth of Ra's sonship. Set would aid in the battle against the serpent Apep, who would try to destroy the sun and thus the world each night. Set, with the spear, would stab the serpent's head at every assault. Apep is a very big symbol in Dilema. Let's just say Crowley makes Apep synonymous with the HGA in the holy books. And by union of the magician and their HGA, an obliteration of the two into one eventually occurs. Being in Maluth, that union is a long way off. So Set can represent, in the grade of Neophyte, all of those things that are blocking from the magician from their HGA. Alternatively, Set could be aiding in conquering one's lower traits and vices that are blocking them from the HGA. So the internal battle is being insinuated. Lastly, let's focus on Set. Crowley writes a decent amount about him in Liber V Vel Reguli. Quote, Shet is equally 31 with La and L, La and Al, but it expresses the secret nature which operates the magic or the transmutations. Set or Shet is the formula of this particular aeon. Another aeon might have another way of saying 31. Shin is fire, as Teth is force. Conjoined, they express Rahor Kui. The angel, which is now the Aeon Tarot Trump, represents the Stele 666, showing the gods of the Aeon, while strength, now lust, is a picture of Babylon and the beast, the earthly emissaries of the gods. Shet is the dynamic equivalent of La and El. Shin shows the word of the law being triple, as 93 is thrice 31. Teth shows the formula of magic declared in the word. The lion, the serpent, the sun, courage, and sexual love are all indicated by the card. End quote. Crowley then analyzes La and El, just as he does with Shin Teth, as I just quoted. But skipping past that, he continues about Set. Quote, Set supplies the last element, making the word of either 5 or 6 letters, according as we regard Shet as 1 letter or 2. Thus the word affirms the great work, accomplished, 5th degree equals 6 square. Set is moreover a necessary resolution of the apparent opposition of La and El, for one could hardly pass the other without the catalytic action of the third identical expression, whose function should be to transmute them. Such a term must be in itself a mode of naught, and its nature cannot encroach on the perfections of not being, La, or of being, El. It must be purely nothing matter, so as to create a matter in motion, which is a functioning of something. Thus Set is motion in its double phase, an inertia composed of 2 opposing currents, and each current is also thus polarized. Shin is heaven and earth, Teth, male and female. Set is spirit and matter. One is the word of liberty and love, flashing its light to restore life to earth. The other is the act by which life claims that love is light and liberty. And these are 2 in 1. The divine letter of silence and speech, whose symbol is the sun in the arms of the moon. But Shin and Teth are alike formula of force and action as opposed to entities. They are not states of existence, but modes of motion. They are verbs, not nouns. Shin is the Holy Spirit as a tongue of fire manifest in triplicity, and is the child Set Isis as their logos or word uttered by their angel. End quote. There's a bit more explaining further the function of magic upon earth, but I think this gives enough to chew on. We come by Shin Teth Set to see a triplicity expressed through spirit and matter, or heaven and earth. Also, 2 forces, one rising, the other descending, expressing not only above and below, but the union of the 2, one and naught, something and nothing in union. And so it's to be this grade sign. Yes, you could bring energy from above and from below and have it coalesce in your heart center. You can do that. For me, this grade sign is more very contemplative than it is dynamic and energy moving. You could do a few interesting things with it. Mostly, I think one of the better things is you could have energy from like Kether and energy from Maluth on your body, both meet in Tifereth. And I think that that's a cool contemplation. But then further, it's a meditation of what is existence? Where did existence come from? Who am I? What am I doing here? Where am I going? So this grade sign for me is really more meditative than it is anything else. It's a meditation on my body, my mind, and my spirit, all as one entity. And then what is the Kabbalistic zero? What is that source that the universe came from? And so you could get very heady in this grade sign. And I think that that's one of the primary functions of it. You could do it very animated, very forcefully swinging your arms and confidently stepping your foot forward. you could add a warrior aspect to it if it makes you feel comfortable in the sign, since it's set fighting. But I don't necessarily think that you have to. I think it's a very meditative grade sign, as opposed to like the sign of silence, where you're actively crystallizing your aura. So I hope that this helps give some information about the sign, and that you enjoyed this little talk. It's a very short one compared to most videos, but I'm going to end this here. So love is the law, love under will. Hope to see you in the next one.